So today we're talking with Sharon Flynn, the author of Ferment for Good and Wild Drinks, amazing books on fermentation, and she's the founder of the Fermentory. Sharon, a lot of people know already about you and familiar with your work, but maybe you could introduce yourself a little bit better than I just did.
All right. My name's Sharon Flynn. I have been fermenting food and drink for a really long time, but never under the umbrella of fermenting. I never would have called myself, I never would have spoken about it in those terms. It was just a nice hobby I had. I was really interested in, really drawn to long-term projects or flavors in a way that I now realize was a little bit different. And I moved around a lot due to my dad's work and then my work and my ex-husband's work. And so wherever we went, it was a new food culture, which really helped me with my flavors and food knowledge. But being exposed to a lot of different preserved and fermented foods and stinky foods for a regular Australian, that was big for me. So we lived in Kuala Lumpur when I was a teenager, and then mid-teens moved to Denmark. And after that, I moved to Japan, and I spent all of my 20s living in Japan, out in the middle of nowhere. So this is I'm older. So this is in the 90s. When did I get to Japan? 1992. I got there and I just stayed. I got some great jobs and ended up out in the country and stayed there. And there was a garden right near my apartment and made friends with some old ladies who like really old, in their 90s. And they showed me what they were doing every day and how they're preserving. And they were really my first friends in the town that I was living in. And that was, that shaped me. I moved to the US, lived in Chicago. I married an American guy from Minnesota. And then we lived in Chicago and then Seattle. And then I ended up going back to Europe, living in Brussels. This is a long introduction. But this is how I got into fermenting, because I was everywhere we went, I was deep in the food system or finding a, local farm or a CSA that you can join and having to preserve an abundance of it. And I was a full-time stay-at-home mum for a lot of that time. And so I guess I just liked getting raw milk and making cheese or making my own sourdough or whatever was missing from the new place we moved to. But when we were in Brussels, my youngest got quite unwell and she had a lot of antibiotics, one after the other, for quite some time. And she really changed. Her personality sort of dropped away and she couldn't keep food down. And there's a lot of mysterious things. And I'd just be sent to a doctor after a new doctor or, like, let's try this, let's try that. And nothing was really helping. And eventually somebody who had a friend who was a naturopath said to me, maybe you should just try replacing her gut bacteria from all the antibiotics. So I was like, and she gave me a list of foods. She gave me a list of foods and they were all my hobbies. So I was just like, I am, I don't know, sometimes when you have a hobby, when you're a person with a lot of deep dive hobbies, you do feel a little bit like not scattered perhaps, or there's no purpose, these hobbies are just another thing, but they're all connected to that moment in time, I guess, where I was like, I can put bacteria into her gut like no one else. So I moved home to Australia and did that. And I couldn't find the same ferments here that I could find when I was in the US or Brussels. And so I was like, it seemed to work, by the way. I fed her those things. I just added them to her diet and it seemed to work. And people in her school and in the community noticed, and I was evangelical. It's like everyone, we don't have this in our diet anymore, these traditional things. And we don't look after our microbiome. And 12 years ago, this was a very new language. Nobody was talking about microbiome or bacteria. And so this led to word of mouth business and really a cash, I was working at night making the ferments, and people were coming and getting them, and just one thing led to another. And I ended up now, 12 years later, with a pretty big factory, and our products are distributed around Australia. But more than that, more on a personal level, I wrote 2 books along the way. And the first one I have here, I don't know if is Ferment for Good. And that came out in 2017. And then the latest, which you have, Denis, is the Wild Drinks. And here we are.
Yeah, that's a fascinating story. Yeah, I mean, very, very inspiring, I guess. Wild Drinks covers such a wide range of fermented beverages. What inspired you to focus on drinks specifically rather than a broader fermentation book?
Great question. Well, I'd already written this one, and this had a lot of recipes from my time in Japan, miso and then sauerkraut. I'm Dutch heritage, so a lot of ferments that I'd been making in my house. But I noticed as a mum, and also as just a regular adult, a lot of people found it very hard to enjoy sauerkraut or any of the things I was making. They'd be like, don't like sour, or it's quite frustrating when you've made something that you want to share, and there's just fussy eaters everywhere. And I noticed that if I make a beautiful drink, everybody likes a fizzy drink. Everybody likes something, if you say strawberry fizz, or it's like champagne but no alcohol and it's made from rhubarb. This is an easy sell. And I hadn't focused on the drinks in Ferment for Good because it was such a broad book. And also that was 2017, and it was just very much the entry into fermenting at home. People were still scared of bacteria, and chefs still didn't really know. They were embarrassed to say, but what's fermenting, But by the time I wrote Wild Drinks, that was in the vernacular of everyone, and I had a bit more room to play, and for the publishers to know, this is a topic that we're ready for, just a book on wild fermented drinks. But I think the thing that I knew from making it was that everybody will take a drink from me at a party or anywhere you go. You say, here, I made these drinks. They're not the same reaction as when you've got natto or sauerkraut. So I wanted to I guess my mission from the beginning was to help get bacteria into people's guts. And that was going to help me on the mission. It's like, this is easy. And also the flavors are so fantastic. And now this year, since Christmas, I've decided I should try and go easy on drinking alcohol. And I'm 54 and, had a pretty nice time. And I was like, why don't I try, a couple months not drinking at all? And this has been such a great experiment for me because I've really come to appreciate all of my ferments and the tinctures and the little flavor things, the vinegars and the things that we make as a way of making delicious drinks. Yeah. So the book's, open in my house right now.
Yeah, that all makes sense. That's a great story and great introduction to the book. And also one of the questions that one of the concerns that I face a lot of times, quite often, many people assume fermenting drinks is complicated and requires special equipment. What's one simple drink that anyone can ferment at home with minimal effort?
So there are so many drinks because the yeast and bacteria is on everything. So we're not used to that concept, but really it just lies dormant and waits to be woken up. So rhubarb is quite a common plant that you can get easily. Making a rhubarb fizz, I think, is delicious. And it's just sugar and rhubarb and water and a bit of thyme. That's a good one. But if you were to do something right now, I'd say mead, because most people have a bit of honey in their cupboard. I would like to think it was raw honey, because to make a really beautiful, easy mead, you would use raw honey as best, because it has the bacteria sitting in there. So mead is good. Honey and water. And then I think the other thing I like to tell people to do is some grain ferments. like a basic kvass. So you can make, you probably know about bread kvass, but keeping crusts of bread, if you've got good sourdough, great, or rye bread is great. And then if getting enough of that and toasting it so it's sort of burnt and caramelized, and the sugars are sitting on the outside of the bread, and then adding water and a bit of molasses and some orange to that makes a gorgeous, gorgeous drink. So say more than mead, I would like everyone to make kvass, yeah, or even like you can do kvass with beetroot or carrots or fruit, but a simple kvass is within everyone's reach.
Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people who are here now and will watch this webinar later from Eastern Europe. And when I tell them that kvass now is very popular, they're like, kvass?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like, especially abroad, and like it's trending, and they're like, kvass?
Yeah. It's ironic. Same with sauerkraut. Sometimes I think, like, if my grandma knew, she passed away a long time ago now, but that I, from Holland, they came here and now I have a sauerkraut factory. What would she think? Why? Yeah, it's a funny thing. But yeah, the kvass, I was at a party one time years ago and someone handed me do you know what hot cross buns are? They're very popular in Australia at Easter time, and it's not even Easter, but they're already in the supermarkets. They're just fruit buns, really, and cinnamon in them, that kind of thing. So it's like fruit bread. And somebody said, "Oh, I've been making this out of old stale hot cross buns," and it was so delicious, and it tasted just like a hot cross bun. That I started getting so excited about. I went through a very long period of kvassing, I suppose, like, what if I put a little bit of coffee in here? What if you make like like jam and scones style, and try to use different combinations of bread and fruit. It was very fun. And I think that's the fun thing about fermenting, particularly if you're not having to ferment for a business, really. Like if you're doing it for a bar and you're allowed to make unique small batches, you can get a leftover of something, or you've got a lot of something, and you can try. Every batch will be quite unique and is special. Once it's gone, it's gone. Some won't work as well as others, and that's where you go. Well, you keep a notebook, but I love trying. Adding some lavender to blueberries, or like testing your food groups and putting them together with a kvass is a really good medium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Once when I was designing a cocktail menu for one of the restaurants in Dubai, and like in Dubai, you have to have a cocktail with passion fruit, and I decided to make passion fruit kvass, and it was top mover.
It was what?
It was a top mover. Everybody was drinking.
And what did you do? What kvass was it? Was it just passion fruit kvass, or did you add a bread or a cereal?
A little bit of toasted bread, obviously sourdough starter, and a little bit of passion fruit pulp, because obviously passion fruit is very acidic, and had to leave room for bacteria to acidify the drink.
Yeah. That sounds delicious.
But everybody loved it. Passion fruit.
Yeah.
And do you have any favorite foraged or homegrown ingredient that you love working with and you cannot get enough of it?
Well, whenever I need a thing and I go out to pick it, I will never have enough. You know what I mean? It's always like, we had a lot of sage last week and now I haven't got enough. But, today I made a lot of elderberry syrup, and there's another tree that I know of that's full of elderberries, and I will be going there and picking quite a lot of those. I feel like I miss elderflower season pretty regularly. Like years go by and I'm like, shit, I didn't get the elderflowers. That would be one thing that's just like not good. A lot of different herbs. I mean, I tend to have abundance of things that perhaps I don't want. I think that's a common problem where you're like, tons of leeks or something. And then I've got 4 trees in my yard that are medlar. Have you heard of medlar? It's kind of like a quince, but darker, and it just produces so much fruit. But the only thing I can find to make is like, like a quince jelly, medlar jelly. So this year, I'm going to really try and see what I can do in the drinks department with the medlars, because last year I made jelly. But it's one of those things where you give people a jar and you're like, it goes really nice with blue cheese. The thing I like about drinks is that you give someone it and they'll drink the whole thing in front of you. That must be nice for you as a bartender, because you get to see that whole thing happen quite quickly. Whereas if you give someone a jar of sauerkraut or jelly, it's a condiment, and they have it in their fridge for a while.
Yeah, never thought about it this way, but yes, you're right. It's very satisfying when you see people drink the whole thing.
Yeah, and they just go, that's so good. And you're like, yeah.
Any skip?
And a lot of chefs and bartenders are exploring fermentation for new flavors.
Yes.
Have you seen any particularly creative uses of wild drinks in bars or restaurants that impressed you?
Yeah, there's so much happening. I feel like you guys are. Maybe I did a Campari hired me, I don't know, just before the second round of COVID in Australia, and I went around all the different cities talking to bartenders, and it was my first time to do anything like that with bartenders. Before that, it had been chefs, and then I felt like, oh, these are my people. I should have been a bartender. What was I doing teaching English in Japan? There's a lot of alchemy that you do that can be quick and also slow, obviously. But what is impressive? Oh gosh, I'm pretty impressed with the things that I don't do or that I couldn't do at home, which is some of those milk. What do you call that when you're making something creamy and it tastes like milk and they're using that big spinner? I don't have any of that going on here, so I'm always interested in that. But I'm always impressed when anyone has anything that they've made on the menu in their bar. It's very exciting to be able to try something. And you know what? There's a lot of pride in the bartender and the staff when they've said, oh, I made this watermelon, whatever, and you get to drink it and they love talking about it. I think that's a pretty lovely, the pride and the curiosity that you can see within that room is pretty nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's more and more now. You're seeing that.
Mm-hmm. And who are the people who usually attend your workshops, master classes at the fermentery?
So here, it depends on the topic, actually. Like when I'm doing a sauerkraut, kimchi, and pickles class, it could be anyone. There's usually less men than women in those classes. But when I teach a sake making class or mead or alcohol, all men. So that's for one thing that's interesting.
We love alcohol, yes.
Yeah, so that's pretty funny. And I mean, I love teaching those classes. It's a different energy. It's a lot of fun. And early on, so maybe 2016, 17, 18, I would talk to a lot of chefs. And then I feel like that changed pretty quickly. Like I said, I did the Campari thing and spent some time in restaurants and bars. And then now I'm seeing a lot of bars order, because we sell on our website, we sell a lot of the cultures. And I'm seeing a lot of orders come in for strange things, like even the milk kefir SCOBY to restaurants and bars. So I feel like it's an exciting time, really, for you guys. Yeah. So yeah, I've got a wide range of people, really, and I think the book helped that. Our products, because in Australia we have a range of kimchi and sauerkrauts and water kefir, and a piquette that we do that's distributed around Australia. So some people buy my product and don't associate me in the book, or other people do. And so it depends on depends. They're coming from all over the place.
Mm-hmm. And do ship cultures abroad? Have you tried it?
Yeah, we've done a few. Like I I'll freeze the milk kefir SCOBY, for example, and then we're like, good luck, hopefully it gets there in 5 days. They're pretty tough, as you know, mold and bacteria want to live. So they can usually survive a trip. But I always check, I'm sending this. I don't know if you're allowed to get it in your country. So I've sent a few to New Zealand, which I always felt like, am I allowed to do that? Because New Zealand's so tight. But I usually try and find the people who order, say it was a kombucha SCOBY, I'd be like, you know what, you can definitely get that in your own home country. Look on these pages and tell, local is better and easier. Yeah.
I struggle to get water kefir grains here, and when I went to China, I put them in. You're allowed to take like up to 100 mils of liquid on board. So I put it in shampoo.
That's a good idea.
From the hotel.
And you get it home okay?
Yeah.
I was going to say I'll bring some over in the summer. But I usually, with water kefir, I can send those easily because we dehydrate them. And so they're really great. When you get too many, that's a good thing to do. And that way you can give them away as presents. And then people don't have to worry about feeding it or looking after it. When you give somebody a SCOBY, it's kind of like, is that a bad? My daughters have said to me, that's a bad present, Mum, because now that it's like giving someone a goldfish. Don't do it. But it dehydrated, you're like, just shove it in the drawer. One day you might read an article about it and you'll be like, oh, I've got some of those. And so that's a good thing to have. It's good that you're doing water kefir. It's not as common as kombucha. And I think it's a lot more pliable, lot more fun to use because the flavor's milder, more lactic, less acetic.
Yeah, right. Not everybody likes the vinegary aroma in their drinks.
Yeah. Whereas water kefir doesn't really have that. Yeah. I have been tending to, compared to 5 years ago, so I used to be all about the water kefir. Actually, we sold a lot of it to shops and restaurants, but also it's my favorite culture to work with. But lately, I think, just on your business journey and your personal journey, I'm preferring at home to not have anything that I need to feed and nurture and look after. So I'm really loving the one-off drinks like kvass or making a sake, like a rough sake or mead, those things. You can make them, and then when you drink it and you finish it, it's done. You don't have to keep looking after the thing. Yeah. I've had a very long love affair with water kefir. Yeah.
Have you ever had the fermentation experiment go completely wrong? Like any fun or unexpected lessons learned along the way?
Yes, of course. When you're a wild fermenter and you're curious and you try and make things up, you're going to have some failures. And one of them is when I first started making kimchi, when I first got kind of a factory space in a winery, like I had another separate room. I made too much kimchi for the barrels that I had. And, you need to leave headroom. And the barrels were maybe 80-liter barrels. And I had weighed everything down. And at the end of the night, it was late and I was tired and I had just a little bit left. And I was like, fuck it. I'll put a little bit more in each barrel. I don't care about headroom. And maybe 2 or 3 days later, they called me. They're like, get down here. There was like a river of looked like blood. It was orange, red, garlic stinking fluid just going down through their driveway from my little shed. And I went in there and all the airlocks were full of the liquid and it was oozing everywhere. And the lids were on so tight from the pressure that I couldn't get the lids off. And, it was early days. It's probably my biggest batch. It's a lot of time to peel all of that garlic and making that. And I'd stayed up late, I was just heartbroken. And as I opened, I had to get someone in to hold it. And as we opened each one, it just shot out like a volcano, and I had about 10 barrels and each one did the same thing. And it was just like barrel after barrel. So there you go. Always leave headroom. Never fill your jars that full.
Yeah, that sounds not like a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was like a Tarantino movie, I'm sure, because just like the walls, everything was just red. Yeah.
Yeah. The next question is a tough one.
Oh.
If someone wanted to start wild drinks but could only try one recipe from your book, which would you recommend?
Well, I like the things that can be extended. So it's not very bartender oriented, but I love milk kefir for all its things that you can make from it. So I would say take the milk kefir, make the milk kefir, and then strain it. And then you've got cheese, and then capture the whey, and then you've got a very powerful culture. That whey from milk kefir will fizz a drink. And it reminds me, what is that called that I was talking about? The milk, what everyone does with the big spinner thing in bars these days.
Centrifuge?
Yes. And then what's the milk called? Anyway, the whey of that reminds me of that. Yeah. It reminds me of that. But also then if you add just say anything, like a little bit of water and some blueberries and sage or something, it'll turn fizzy within a day or two in a really delightful way. So I think, and because a lot of non-alcoholic drinks don't have very good mouthfeel, it's just gone straight away. The whey is a bit thicker, so it's a really good medium to play with, milk kefir whey. So I would say try that. Also, the milk kefir is so good for your gut, so good for your skin. It's an essential thing in your fermenting kit. You can make culture butter for the restaurant. There's a lot of stuff you can do with milk kefir. So I would say milk kefir. But obviously, like I've said before, if you've got lovely honey and water, go grab that. And I've made beautiful mead that goes to 16% alcohol just from honey and water, and then adding a few fun things like a hibiscus flower or something like that. And that's if you don't know that you can make alcohol out of just honey and water, then it's a lovely celebration to be like, wow, fizzy drink, just from stirring a regular ingredient. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you're right, because when I was reading your book, when I read about whey sodas, that I realized that there is so many possibilities, so many things that you can do with that, and definitely I will do in the future.
Do you have kefir grains?
Yeah, I do. Actually, it's quite common here in Dubai. Like a lot of just home enthusiasts, they share milk kefir grains.
Nice. Yeah, because I guess that sour milk, that's quite traditional, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Good. I'm glad you saw the whey soda section.
And how long? What's the shelf life of whey soda?
Oh, I'd say, listen, we've found whey soda, and I think they get better with age. So I don't know. I think you've got a very long shelf life. I'm talking a year. Like as long as it's in the fridge and taken care of, you've got a long time. In fact, I found we had a shop in downtown Melbourne, and just before Christmas, we closed that down, and we found quite a lot of stuff in the back, back fridges, and the water kefir and the whey soda had clarified. So it was this beautiful look like what? And if it was a strawberry whey soda, the sediment at the bottom was pink, but the drink was quite clear. And so we had a drink and we were like, oh my God, it's probably better. It's like aging any wine or something. Is like, this is better than before. That we made a beautiful lemon one that was, and with yuzu, I think, and somehow they got forgotten and they were gorgeous. So I want to say, it's not tested, but by testing with my senses, it was about a year old. Yeah.
Oh. Funny that you mentioned that. Actually, clarification is another trend in bartending world right now. Everybody wants to clarify everything.
Yes, that's what I meant. Clarified milk. That's what I think I've had in a few different bars. I went to a very good bar in Singapore last year and had some beautiful cocktails, and one of them was made with soy sauce. And I thought that was probably the most interesting. I think I ordered another one. Yeah, it was damn good. Whiskey and soy sauce or something like that. Yeah, show you. It was Atlas Bar.
And what's next for you? Any upcoming projects or ideas you're excited about?
In fermenting, what am I doing lately? Well, I'm in the food world. We're making quite a bit of tempeh and loving that to play around with. We have joined forces with a French lady here who works from a winery, and we're making a piquette. Do you know what a piquette is? You probably know. It's just like leftover, using the grape must and then adding water and fermenting that again. So we've been playing with piquette as a sustainable, low alcohol option. And it's sparkling and delicious, and you can't really compare it to wine because often people go, oh, it's a very low, subtle flavor, but it's traditional in any wine countries. I think that you would sell the good wine and then give the grapes another go and drink that, and so low alcohol that you drink it while you're working. And I have to say, the surprising to me is that however many weeks I've been going, how long are we in the year? About 6 weeks or something, and not drinking. I've had a few drinks, but in general, trying not to drink. So that's been really fun, actually, because I'm trying to find ways to excite myself, because I do like having a drink. So at night, it's like, it's hot here, it's summer, and friends come over, and I'm like, what are we going to do? So I'm really having fun playing with shrubs and tinctures and ways to get, and bitters, and ways to get lots of flavors in. So I don't know if that's a project for the public arena, but it's definitely something that I'm writing about in my newsletters and sharing recipes of vinegars, and how to have yummy, good, satisfying drinks without drinking a lot of alcohol, which is good. And I'm hopefully coming to Dubai in June. That's a project. To see you. We're going to San Sebastian first, and then we're going to be making some water kefir there and doing a few little projects there, and then that's looking ahead to the middle of the year. But yeah, it'll fly by, won't it?
That's very exciting that you come into Dubai.
Yeah.
And how often you send your newsletter, and how do people subscribe to it?
Great question. So my business name is The Fermentery, with a TARY, thefermentery.com.au. And I reckon if you go on there, there'll be one of those pop-up things. It's like, subscribe to my newsletter. So do that. I don't have a team. It's just me. Obviously, I have people making sauerkraut and kimchi, but when it comes to running this side of the business, it's me. I make the mail orders and pack the mail orders myself, and write the newsletter. So probably, what do I try to keep it really low, because I don't want to spam you with a lot of emails. So has been less than once a month, but lately I've gone up to about at least once a month. So yeah, you'll get one. You'll get one in the next couple of weeks if you subscribe soon. Yeah, and they usually have a little recipe or tidbit or something, sends you to the website for more information on.
Amazing.
Yeah, and there are a couple of online workshops there too. One that might be interesting if you don't know milk kefir. There's a milk kefir workshop on there, and then a list of my in-person workshops that you can have a look at.
Right. So if people go to your website, they can order cultures, they can order equipment, they can
Yep.
Your books, of course. And get some recipes when you share your newsletter, when they subscribe.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, I think that's all the questions that I could put for 1 hour of the
Yeah.
webinar. Yeah, and hopefully in June people will have a chance to ask you questions in person. People who will be in Dubai at the time.
That'd be amazing.
Right. Thank you so much for taking your time to speak with us. We are very honored, and it was a big pleasure.
Thank you very much. It's nice to meet you finally, and look forward to catching up soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Denis.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye. How do I hang up? I haven't hung up yet. I don't know. Oh.